Hi, kitty cats. I am transgender, I am a scientist, and I'm here to answer questions for you. So bring it on. All right, I am Amethysta Herrick. I'm an author and a podcaster. You'll see some links going on below. Scrolling through a few things, some whatever they're called. It's a carousel. So you can check those links for more information about me and the work I do. One of those links is my personal website, it's amethysta.io. You can find all my social media networks that I'm on, and maybe you can follow me for updates on everything I do. My professional website is genderidentitytoday.com. You'll see that too. All of my articles and podcasts are published there, as well as work from other contributors. So if you enjoy this content, first of all, please consider subscribing at genderidentitytoday.com. You can get a subscription for as low as $2 a month. And if you would like to contribute to Gender Identity Today, like actually contribute content, please email through my personal website at amethysta.io. And finally, if you want to leave a tip, there's also a coffee.com link where you can send a tip as you see fit. So, all right. I see already Genevieve, hello. And I also see Grief Foundation, hi. An interesting little tidbit here. Oh, hey, Michaela. There's Michaela who says it's after dark. I don't know where you are. So I'm going to say this already. I seem to be having technical difficulties with TikTok, and I'm honestly a little unsure what to do here. It's just telling me no internet connection. But if you're seeing me, presumably that means I have an internet connection. So hopefully this will all come together in the end. I'm not really sure how to get really to my own live here on TikTok. Actually, I'm curious. Can I just do this and go to like me/live or something like that? I forget. Oh my gosh, look, there I am. Beat that. And I do indeed have some comments here. Cool. So I've got Frybird. I've got Matt. Hello. How are you doing? I've got to figure out, can I pop this chat thing out now? Probably not. All right, gonna let it go. It is on. Cool. All right, some beginning thoughts here. I want to, oh, thank you, Matt just sent me a gift. Thank you so much. I want to have, there's some beginning thoughts here. I will answer any question unless I consider it rude or offensive. And maybe you're going to ask the question, well, to whom? Well, to me. And that's it, you know. I'm more than happy to answer many, many things, but if they're going to turn kind of wacky, I don't want to even touch them. So put your questions in the chat, and I'm going to do my absolute best to get them all. I'm going to go on for an hour. I'll be here for an hour, and I'll try to get to them all. I do want to say before I get going, because if I look for, if I wait for some questions here. Oh, here's a great question. Corn Pop has asked me, is my hair color natural? Yeah. For real? Yes, it's natural. Crazy. All right. So I made this past week, I made a video about conservatives. It was satire, okay? My satirical video. Taking a while to get this out of my face. I made a satirical video about conservatives redefining science. And so in doing this, I made like some fake physics variables and a fake physics equation. Because, I wanted to make a joke about Newtonian mechanics and how conservatives, since they want to redefine sex and gender, will also redefine physics, like Newtonian mechanics, which would be impressive, right? Would be impressive. And perhaps not surprisingly, conservatives turned out in force. So first they said, my science was bad, that I can't just redefine physics. They also said I can't make assertions about politics based on science. And then another thing, I'll get to it. But that was the satire. That was the joke. That was really honestly the joke. You can't redefine science. Very true. So why in the world are these people showing up and dropping me comments saying, hey, you can't do that thing that I'm trying to do? Crazy person. Now, what's funny, there ended up being 3 or 4 people who talked amongst themselves. And they were saying, first of all, that I deleted comments just because I choose to. So I will say this here. I'm just going to throw this out here. YouTube in particular is very aggressive about deleting comments without me ever even seeing them. There have been times I've gone to one of my own videos and it says like, 200 comments, and I'm looking at like 3, all of which I've answered, and I'm like, where did those go? I don't even know. So they're very aggressive about it. The community on YouTube as well is also very aggressive about reporting comments, again, without me ever seeing them. Because anybody can report a comment. I mean, right now, Matt and Frybird are moderating and TikTok right there. They're just muting people because, like, that's what you do. If you get people who are kind of nasty, let it go. So what I've started to do is invite people who only want to heckle me to a live stream so that they can explain it to my face, right? Because I think that's important. I want to hear you, but I certainly am not going to like wade through a bunch of insults in order to get to it. So I'm going to tell you at this point, I actually had somebody tell me that all of my observations of nature are only opinions, not facts. It's like, wow, okay, we should talk about this. So nobody's taken me up on it so far. But I will say directly, like, I have no desire to form a cult. I want to clarify scientific concepts. And that's why I'm here, like right here, right now, because it's only through observing nature that we understand it. And I will go on record as saying we cannot legislate nature to be how we want it. It's just kind of how it goes. One other little tidbit, because I see a couple of questions. I see yours, Grief Foundation. I'd love to talk about this. I'm going to get there. One last point I wanted to make too. Some of the people in my when in the satirical video, they were kind of mansplaining things to me, which actually made the satire even richer, because I was like, I think he came in here to say, hey, conservatives are not, wankers who are redefining science. And then they gendered me correctly the whole time. So it's kind of like, wow, that's cool. Like, I was called a crazy cat lady. I thought, they were comments that were impolite, but at least I was impolitely gendered properly, right? Part of me went, take my victories where I get them, right? So, all right. Well, those were all of the comments I had right there. I guess I can close that, huh? Why not? All right. Let me see what I got. All right. I've got, okay. So gender nullification. So Grief Foundation, I'd love you to explain that a little bit more so that I can address the question properly. My understanding of what you are asking, and if you can just say yes or no if this is true, but my understanding what you mean by gender nullification is actually abolishing gender, the movement to abolish gender altogether. And if that's true, tell me yes or no, and I'll acknowledge a couple of other people. So Michaela, oh, this is interesting. Michaela says you were a bit sensitive to cold prior to HRT, but now I feel it far more. Even wake up shivering in a 22C room under a very warm duvet. Does this reduce in time? Does this reduce in time? She asks under a blanket. I gotta admit, I started HRT in July, unfortunately. So, I was very warm. I also had been taking cold showers, like only cold showers, for about 6 months then. And so my sensitivity to temperature changes, period, is very different now. I don't feel the cold and heat as differently as much as I used to. All of this is to say, not to mention, I should also mention, I hate wearing shoes. So I wear sandals all the time. I've worn sandals through, what is it, 12, I think, 12 or 14, 15 Colorado winters. And I'm okay with that. So anyway, walking through snow. There you go. So I'm the wrong person to ask. I wish I had a good answer for you, Michaela, but I'm afraid I don't. So, all right, let me see. So am I lagging? Matt says that's, oops. I don't know if I'm lagging or Amy is. Well, I'm definitely lagging in many ways. So There you go. It was Frybird who said that. Sorry, not Matt. All right. Mrs. Schiff says, hi, kitty cats. Hi. Okay, so Michaela, who is Boom Cats, Boom Cat says to Michaela, this is an FTM, and the reverse is happening to you. So make sure you're getting enough iron for blood circulation. Oh, that's a phenomenal point, Boom Cats. Thank you. I suppose I could have actually, like talked about science as opposed to only my experience, but there you go. And thank you, by the way, Boom Cats, for saying you love my videos. You're very welcome for me making them. I enjoy this, believe it or not. So, all right. Let's see. Hi, Angel. I did know Angel was here. Good to see you too. Okay, I haven't heard back from Grief Foundation, so I'm going to take the guess that my question about gender nullification, that do we need to abolish gender entirely? So gender, this question I think comes up often in the humanities, honestly, and I'm gonna. This is a thought that's been sort of running through my head, sort of rolling around, that there are scientific definitions for both sex and gender, and we gain these just from observing nature. These are not new; these have been around for a long time. But then there's also our human understanding or human distortion of scientific terms, which happens all the time. I mean, I have a whole video about red spheres and blue spheres, right? They're not really red and blue. That's these are colors that were defined by physicists, not the spheres. So, it's color interacting with our eye itself. So it's kind of like, we can call something red or blue, but it's not scientifically accurate. So, moving on to this, sex and gender have actual scientific definitions, and yet we don't use them in common parlance, particularly in Western society. And I believe what that is, because now I've had actual biologists, but people who said, hey, I'm a biologist, and I don't agree with your definition of sex and gender. And I'm like, not my definition. Like, this is these are observations of nature, and if you can tell me my observations of nature is inaccurate, like, let's discuss it. But if I'm only making observations of nature, like, how can you call that inaccurate? Unless we just say nature itself is inaccurate, and that's kind of going against being a scientist now, isn't it? So, okay, thank you, Miss Sheaf. I'm going to finish up my point here, nonetheless. Okay, because it's just coming up. Okay. All right, so to finish this point, though, and then get on to your point, Grief Foundation, I believe that what science is willing to do is divorce itself from the rest of the universe. That we kind of go, well, science is just science. It has nothing to do with humans, and humans don't have to be a part of it. We can just kind of, act on our own. And so science has allowed the humanities not even to affect it. And then interestingly, the humanities, including philosophy, philosophy is not exactly a humanity, but I'm going to throw it in there. Philosophy and gender studies oftentimes go, well, this isn't about science either. And so we purposely have kind of pulled apart the holistic experience of being human, because we're not just human and we're not just in the universe. We are human in the universe. And so there has to be an integration of all of this. So anyway, that's my point there. So somebody once asked me, can we abolish gender? And I said, we certainly can't, because what that, that's a scientific definition. It's the same as saying, I'd like to abolish blue. I just don't like blue. Blue's icky. It makes me feel bad. We've already seen people have said, they feel worse when they see the color blue around them. It's why hospitals are colored blue. I don't remember the interaction there, but like red makes people excited and blue makes people calm and green makes people go, oh, I feel like I'm in nature. And, it's a human experience. We can't just throw that out. So, all right. that's my little opinion there. So Grief Foundation asks, and forgive me, I didn't understand what you're saying. So gender nullification as per the WPATH SOC version 8, and those that label themselves the nullo community. All right, so I'm going to tell you, I am not part of that community. I've never spoken to anybody who's in that community. I have spoken to people who wanted both parts. So transgender women who wanted to get a vaginoplasty but maintain, their existing parts, not the testicles, obviously, but and then I know people who are actually physically have both parts, just through intersex characteristics. So I'm going to tell you what I say here is not based on experience. I've not spoken to these people, but my understanding, is exactly what the term says. It's gender nullification. You want to express no gender characteristics. And I think what that means, it's being done through anatomical methods. Sorry, I'm getting a question here that says, what is the nullo community? Okay, sorry. So the nullo community, it's taken off all parts. You do, gosh, I wish I could remember the name of it, but you get rid of vaginal, vulva, you get rid of vulva, you get rid of penis, you get rid of scrotum, testicles. You end up with one hole for a urethra, and that's the intent. And you actually can, I know there are procedures to close up all orifices, other orifices than a urethra. So this is getting rid of gender characteristics. Now I don't believe that I can pass judgment on what somebody else is important. What's important for somebody else. For me, having a vaginoplasty ended up being important, but I didn't think it would be important. Wearing makeup before I came on here today, I put on makeup. That's important to me, but it doesn't. My psychologist, for instance, is like, "Wow, you wear makeup. Why are you bothering doing that?" And I'm like, "Because it's important to me." And there are some people for whom erasing all aspects of sex characteristics, primary sex characteristics, is important. I don't know if I can. Again, I don't want to pass judgment on this. I don't think that it's fair to do so. Because, I could say, oh my gosh, how could you possibly want to get rid of your vagina? Oh my gosh, how could you possibly want to get rid of your male reproductive parts? Why would you want to do this? But I did. And if I think that that's okay for me, I'm certainly not going to pass judgment on anybody, getting rid of all aspects of their anatomical, whatever they want to do with their body. I think what you might be asking, Grief Foundation, and correct me if I'm wrong here, that is this gender nullification or is it anatomical modification? So Sloppy Mommy is now asking me, is that not mutilation? Well, Sloppy Mommy, if you want to reach out to me, I would absolutely show you photographs of the vaginoplasty that I received. And it is beautiful. Is that mutilation? No, I took parts that I did not find beautiful and turned them into parts that I believe now are beautiful. Elon Musk, I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, got facial masculinization. Presumably he looked at himself in the mirror and said, oh gosh, that's not beautiful. Was that mutilation, Sloppy Mommy? I'm curious. If Elon Musk was capable of getting something to make him look more square-jawed, I'm a little unsure. Is that mutilation, or is that just him spending the money that he's got to do what he finds to be beautiful? I'm not going to pass judgment on that. I'm not going to pass judgment on removing all parts whatsoever. So that being said, again, is this nullification of gender? I would say that the term itself is is inaccurate, because again, gender has a scientific understanding, which is the expression of sex characteristics. And in this case, nullification, getting rid of all of those, is an expression of sex characteristics. It's getting rid of all anatomical parts, and that's an expression of primary sex characteristics. So anyway, hopefully that ended up going through everything you ever wanted to hear, Grief Foundation. All right, thank you, Mommy, Sloppy Mommy. So Sloppy Mommy says you understand. Do you, honestly, if you want, that's my belief. I mean, I've had a couple people reach out to me and say, can I see how the procedure went? And so I'm like, of course. I think that's important. I mean, and Matt even points out some people genuinely don't have a damn clue what mutilation even means. Like, to me, mutilation would imply that you ended up unhappy. I'm not unhappy, and presumably other people are not. So Sloppy Mommy does follow up here with saying, as long as people are not harming other people, they should be able to be happy too. And I think we're on absolutely the exact same page. I'm going to throw you a little heart there because I can. Do you know how long it took me to figure this out? I'm in my 50s, right? I saw the kids doing it, right? The kids. It's always the kids. But I saw the kids doing it. I was like, oh, that's cool. That's cool. Wait, I can do this. Can I just do this? Does this work? And then, oh, okay, I'll figure it out. So I did. This one's getting me, though. I'm having a hard time with that one. I do what I can. All right. There was another, let me see. Okay, here we go. So Elliot After Hours has said, it's so wild how much work we have to do to regain the research we lost on World War II. So this is an excellent point. You're so welcome, Sloppy Mommy. Thank you for the gratitude. Huh. Actually, hang on. Elliot After Hours, hang on. Sloppy Mommy. There's no going back from that, though. I have 2 words to answer that. There is no going back from a vaginoplasty. And my 2 words are, I hope. I don't want to go back. I wouldn't have done it if I didn't think I wanted it. So I think that's a funny bit. There's a lot of, there's a meme that I see every so often, comes up on my feed every so often, that says, transgender people, please give me gender affirming care. Conservatives, that's going to be irreversible, right? Transgender people, we hope not. Yeah, that's what we wanted. So, all right, to go back to Elliot After Hours, this is great. We did a lot of research. So in Germany, interestingly, in the very early 1900s, I don't know the exact dates, but by about 1920s anyway, there was a center, and of course I'm going to blank on the name. There's a really excellent article that James Finn wrote that should be out there on Medium somewhere. But there was a clinic in Germany just before World War II, or just before Hitler assumed any power in the 1930s, where they were doing research on both sexual and gender nonconformance. So, why are people gay? Why are people transgender? What happens if we try certain things like gender affirming care? And it's a shame. When Hitler did assume power, and I don't know again the exact date, but pre-1940, if I remember correctly, Germany shut it down. Like, they went into this clinic and burned everything. I believe it was Hitler's what was the real brute squad, the brown shirts, I think. Maybe, went in and really just destroyed everything. All of the records that we had are destroyed. And it was a lot. Oh my gosh. Oh, there we go. Thank you so much. I'm going to murder the German here. Matt says, Institute for Sexual Wissenschaft. See, I destroyed it. But so anyway, thank you. That is it. And there was so much work going on there. It's a shame that we've lost it all. That being said, right after World War II, and we had soldiers coming home. World War II was a particularly nasty war. Did I say it right ish? Wow. Institut für Sexualwissenschaft. Wissenschaft, I suppose, right? Anyway, right after World War II, we developed a lot of reconstructive surgery techniques. Crazy, right? Because people were coming home with injuries, and so we started developing a whole lot of surgical techniques that that helped soldiers feel more. Oh my gosh, I'm getting compliments on my German. Well, there you go. Anyway, we got these techniques that were helping soldiers feel better, and not long after that, right? It was in 1953, I believe it was, that there was the blonde GI, right? Who oh my gosh, how am I forgetting her name? Somebody remind me. Who was it in 1954? Came home from Norway, I believe, where they did. It was one of the first successful vaginoplasties that had been done. I feel like a dope now, but anyway, it was early 1950s, and some of that, she was a heroine when she came home. So anyway, reconstructive surgery, all the research we've done. I agree with you, Elliot. It sucks a lot that we've lost some of this research to time, into violence. So yeah, it's a bummer. It's a bummer. So, all right, I'm going to try to go because I feel like I'm sort of going. I feel like I'm a bit. What's the word I'm looking for here? I can't even say it. That's how scattered I am. Right? All right, here we go. So thank you, Elliot, for that question. Let's see. Let people live as long as they ain't hurting others, says Frybird. So right. What? Frybird also says, why would Sloppy want my future girlfriend to go back? Oh. All right. Let me see. Is that right? Christine Jorgensen. Thank you. God, how did I forget her? You are such the font for knowledge. Are you like throwing up Google at this point, or like I'm on the spot and you go, I'll just be the fact finder in the background. But all right. So let me see. I'm going to go back to YouTube comments here. So Anita Lichtenberg, did you like that? Says the satisfaction rates for vaginoplasty are very high. I wanted to say Anita's first because it turns out that Sloppy Mommy asks, does it make you feel happier now? I'm going to tell you, I did it, but I didn't. I scheduled it. And I thought, I'm curious if this is going to do anything for me. And I will tell you, it ended up being life-altering. And I don't mean just that I look down now and I go, hey, that's cool, that's gone. What I mean is that all of the energy that I put into recognizing that those parts were there is also freed up. So much of my life is cleaner and clearer. So when you ask the question, does it make you feel happier now? Like, it's too small of a word. Does it make me feel happier? No, it makes me feel like a bigger human being. It makes me feel like I'm a better part of the universe. It makes me feel like I've achieved an actual connection to myself. Happier is too small. I hope that wasn't too effusive, but that's what it did to me. So Anita also mentions, as a teenager, she had ideas that were going in the nullification direction. So Matt, I don't know if you saw this here, but Anita says she is agender. So forgive me. Do you want me to use they, them, Anita, if you don't mind saying? Says agender, but also is quite uncomfortable in their body and with sexuality. So now says they wouldn't go that way. An interesting tidbit there. All right. Michaela has mentioned the institute we were just talking about was in Berlin. Says, believe the memorial under the spot the books were burned. Empty shelves was to this, but it was not mentioned in the tour I took. Was there is it underneath that spot? That's interesting. I My understanding was that for the most part, like Germany kind of wanted to sweep that under the rug, which is a shame because, Berlin was becoming this huge like a mecca almost. I don't want to use that word, but it was becoming a center for, let's talk about let's talk about the human condition. There's actually his name is Dr. Redfern. Ooh, what's Redfern's last name? Dang it. I interviewed him. He has a book called is it, I think, Big Pink Sky? Big Pink Sky, I think it is. That talks about that. What if in Berlin the Nazis had started rising to power and the Institute essentially rose up and said nope, and ended up making Berlin to continue to have Berlin as the center for all of this research. It's pretty sweet. It was a fun story there. Redfern. Why can't I remember anything today? That's awful. Let's see. So Sloppy Mommy does ask, how was my recovery process? Did it hurt? So I'll tell you, so I didn't get, I got what's called a minimal depth vaginoplasty. So minimal depth means that I did not get a neovaginal canal. So I don't have to dilate. Usually you have to dilate 3 times a day is the protocol for the first year. And although, people end up not necessarily doing that, but so in any event, my recovery was great. But I did go to Thailand and I laid in bed for 9 days, 8, yeah, so 8 nights, gosh, for 8 days after my procedure. So I think I had a really good head start. My recovery has been phenomenal. I have a video I'm going to make in the next few days because it's almost 6 months. It was July 11th that I got the vaginoplasty done. So I'm almost at 6 months and things are so amazing. Oh my gosh, everything feels great. I will tell you, I know everything works because I actually experienced climax earlier today. There you are. So did it hurt? Yes, it hurt some. It was reconstructive surgery. Was it worth it? Oh my gosh, yes. So there you go. All right. Grief Foundation has now asked a question. This is another good question. What's my view on trans blind Jewel Shooping, whose psychologist assisted her to blind herself using drain cleaner? I believe ultimately what that ends up doing, Matt Adland made the point that mutilation, let me scroll back up, that mutilation means causing harm. I'm going to see where it is. Yes, to cause harm, to damage something or to alter it in a negative way. GRS is categorically not mutilation. Again, agreed. So I want to use that same definition. I would not blind myself because my vision is really awful. Well, not anymore. But before, so let me see, it was 2001? Yeah, it was 2001. I got LASIK done because without corrective lenses, I was clinically blind. I had, it was a -9 spheres prescription, which is considered clinically blind. That's the point. And so I got LASIK done and I thought, well, it's the greatest thing of all times. But my vision has always been horrible. I would not choose to blind myself because I fear not being able to see. I mean, I think that's a good way to put it. I fear that. And if Jewel wants to do this, I don't know. I don't see it as any different. I mean, Frybird brought up that, we get tattoos, we get piercings. I've got my own piercings. I've got my own tattoos. We don't ban those. That we call those decoration. And I guess we figure, if you lose functionality in something, that's not decoration. That's mutilation. But if this makes Jewel feel better about going through life, I'm going to have to run with it. I don't know the person for what it's worth. I don't know the story, so just based on context, that's what I've got there. So, all right, let me see. So Dora Richter was the first bottom surgery ever. Yes, there you go. She was at the institute under the care of Magnus Hirschfeld. Yes, and it was 1920 something or another. I'm a little unsure, but very early, very early. The techniques, as far as I understand, at IFS were instrumental in some of the other reconstructive surgical techniques that we ended up developing. I mean, it's really interesting too, because many of those techniques were developed because we had a war. And it's, you kind of go, God, that's, war sucks. And it does, really, it sucks. I'm not saying we need more wars, okay? It is interesting that sometimes the worst stimulus ends up with the best response. So I think that's all I'm going to say there. Joe Neal says, I'm a hetero cis male ally. Thank you. Oh, sorry. I don't know why I'm giving you the thumbs up. That's what my son does to go, I don't agree with you. Thanks, kid. So sorry. Joe Neal, here you go. You get the heart too. Martina McDougall says, does vaping interfere with estrogen hormone therapy? Ooh. I'm going to tell you, I don't know the answer to that. And I'm not going to take a guess. Joe Neal says vaping interferes with everything, and it is true that the nicotine definitely has issues. There is also ethylene glycol, might be. I think it's ethylene glycol that's in the vape solution, and burning that ends up making, I think, ketones that can really harm the lungs. Michaela also brings up, nicotine is very bad with estrogen blood clots. It's in particular synthetic estrogen that you have a risk of blood clots, an increased risk of blood clots. So it's a great point. You're saying, does it interfere? And I think the question might have been, does it affect blood concentration of estradiol? That I don't know the answer, but absolutely you're at greater risk for blood clots. So, all right, let me see. Joe Neal says it makes you feel real. Oh, it makes me feel real. Yes, it makes me feel genuine. It makes me feel like a real person. You know what? Miss Sheaf, I'm hoping I'm saying this right, says vaping is better than smoking. So I'm unsure. I really don't know. I've never been a smoker or a vapor, for what it's worth. So I don't have a lot of personal experience there, but I will certainly say that I have seen a lot of damage done by cigarette smoke. The thing is that it's not by nicotine. The interesting tidbit here, right? It's the nicotine does indeed affect biochemistry, but it's the other bits that get burned in this case that affect the human body so badly. The tar that came out of tobacco, so the smoke, if you have enough of that, it builds up in your lungs, and obviously that's a very real affliction. With vaping, again, you end up building up byproducts in your lungs, very, very real. So interesting that it's not the nicotine that is the worst part, but the delivery system. So anyway, there you go. Sort of a funky thing. Thank you, Michaela, for more clarification. The memorial's built under and covered with glass so you can view it. That's cool. I think that's really neat. All right, let me see. Jose, I'm going to say Fruon. I'm going to hope that I'm getting that right. Asks the question, has there been any research into getting the body itself to produce the desired sex hormone so as to avoid having to do injections, pills, etc.? I don't know if there has been research. I'm going to walk into this and possibly, hurt myself doing this. For the most part, testes and that develop into testicles are much better at producing testosterone, and obviously ovaries are far better at producing estrogen. But both bodies create both hormones. I mean, at this point, I have no testicles; they're gone. And yet, the last time I got a blood test, I still had testosterone because there are other parts of your body that can create it. So your question was, has there been any research? I believe what would have to happen there, and again, just a belief, but I believe what would have to happen is that you actually replace the glands that make the desired sex hormone. Like, you would still want to remove the testicles and implant ovaries, perhaps. And I don't know if anybody has considered doing that. I think it would be interesting, but basically the point is, like, once you've gotten past, I think it's about 12 to 14 weeks of fetal development. At that point, fetal development, you're running down a pathway that you're going down a hill that you can't go back up. The human development just kind of works that way, that you either start developing testes or you don't in the womb, and then after that it's hard to affect it otherwise, aside from surgically. So biochemically, I don't think you could do anything, even if you were going to attempt like genetic modification. I don't think there would be a way to do that. So I'm taking a dumb guess, but this is somewhat of an educated guess. Miss Sheaf says she could have just worn a blindfold. Yeah, close your eyes. It's a good point. Let me see. Joe Neal makes a really good point. Says what makes a human feel best is abstinence from recreational drugs and alcohol. I'm not going to deny that. It's really interesting. Alcohol is one of those things you go, oh my God, I'm so glad I drank that. I had that drink. And then you wake up the next day and you're like, well, that sucks. Right? It's great at the beginning. So, all right. Hi, CM Burns. Good to see you. I'm glad you're there. Frybird has been SIG-free 14 years. That's amazing. Good on you. Well done. Grief Foundation asks me a question. I'm gonna ask this, or I'm gonna read it. What's the interrelation between the is this supposed to be Hijra community? I'm not sure. So Hiria community, I'm afraid I'm not sure what that is. And the prevalence of DSDs in communities where cousin marriage is common. And I don't know the answer to that. I will again take a little guess here. And I'm going to go really just from genetics, principles of genetics here. Asexual reproduction tends to be less, tends to result in less diversity for the species, in which case oftentimes you'll see that species, or at least that line, die out. I'm going to say that line because there are, was it geckos? I think it's geckos. There's a species of geckos that will have asexual lines. So you actually have in those lines like it's usually a colony of geckos that are all female, and they produce eggs that aren't just half the genetic material, it's all of the genetic material. But as a result, they don't get any intermixing, which means you end up sooner or later, if they end up with a deleterious mutation that persists, you could see the end of that line. So I don't know if there was an interrelation between cousin marriage and, in particular, prevalence of DSDs. Certainly, sometimes you end up, when you have lack of diversity in the genetic material, with sterile individuals that are sterile. So it certainly can happen. Otherwise, I don't know the exact, answer to what you're asking. So let's see. Miss Sheaf asks me. So actually, Joe Neal asks the question, who is ready for some good news? I am. Drop it down there. Let's see what we got. So yes, Miss Sheaf, I did have breast augmentation. People have been saying they look very perky. Only people? Is that you? So, yes, I did. For what it's worth, I had to go and get new bras 2 or 3 weeks ago. Yeah, a couple weeks ago. So when I started hormone therapy, first of all, I was 52 years old. Okay, usually get you don't get a lot of feminization. It appears that I have a partial androgen insensitivity syndrome, and so I responded to estrogen therapy very, very readily, it seems. The thing is, though, that all of my breast development, I'm not sure how I want to do this. I'm going to end up getting banned from TikTok. How about if I do this? Sure. So all of my breast growth, that's not working. All of my growth was on the outside. So it was on this side, on the outside. So what I ended up asking for, hopefully this isn't getting too loud, what I ended up asking for was, could I have some sort of augmentation so that it would fill in the middle, because what I didn't have was cleavage. I had enough to fill up a 44B cup, but not in the middle. And so yes, I did have some implants put in. I will say though, I don't remember the exact volume, but all these, the bra size and the cup size has a vaguely standard-ish volume, and a 44B should have been 1100 cc, 1100 milliliters, so a little more than a liter, right? And I got 400 put in, so the implants I got were yeah, standard-ish, says Frybird. I know that's not really standard. I mean, there's a great video that I saw that goes through the geometry of it, and it's like, and absolutely no bra company is like, yeah, we totally, we're following that. So anyway, I had 400 cc put in, and then I had to go and get a 44C, 44C bra. So I also believe I've started growing again. It feels like I've started growing again after surgery. So while I did have some implants put in, most of what you're looking at here is actually natural. So I'll pop that back out again. I'm relatively proud of that. That's me. All right. Let's see. What else do we have? All right. So Anita Lichtenberg has said an excellent point, which is a blindfold would be like tucking. It's not quite the same. And I think that's a phenomenal point too. Like if you can make it so that you don't have to worry about whatever it is, then that's always way better. So, all right, let me see. I'm going to go back. I know I had, so CM Burns asks, do I think the advancement of T-bottom surgeries and revisions will get better in the next 10 years? I'm going to take a big guess at no. The reason why I'm taking that guess, some of these surgical techniques are more than 100 years old. I don't think that doesn't mean we couldn't find better anesthetics or we couldn't find better antibiotics. I think there's a lot of things where we can make the recovery process better. But much of the advancement, at least that I have seen, and I'm certainly not following every surgical technique, but the surgical technique that I got in Thailand, the doctor calls it scarless, which is, it's untrue. Just the scars are hidden. So, when I've seen other procedures that have been done in the U.S., particularly in the U.S., I've seen a lot of scarring. And I think that's actually the technique and not the not necessarily the surgeon or the recovery, because the scars were in different places. Excuse me. Gosh, sorry. Oh, by the way, this was my I'm going to continue answering this CM Burns. Let me take a drink of water. I'm also this I don't know if this will show up. Yeah. So I've got like a little shop. I actually wanted coffee cups. I put this on coffee cups, but this is my little YouTube logo there, Amethysta Herrick, gender professor. Um, anyway, I asked for coffee cups, but they sent me these big, huge, like huge metal thermos things. Like I'm getting tired holding it up with just one hand. So it's beautiful, but I really wanted a coffee cup. So I'm gonna have to tell them, hey, need you a coffee cup. Anyway, you can buy those at the shop if you ever decided you really needed something that said Amethysta Herrick on it. There you go. Okay, advancement in surgeries. I think it ends up. I think if we're going to see an advancement, I think what it takes is going to be a better Western acceptance of like humans being able to control their own bodies. I'm going to throw that out there because I will guarantee that that's going to get somebody upset. I think if governments want to control bodies, I mean, we're watching this. I don't have to like say this is truth and have you go, no, really? Yeah, really. Because, there's power, there's control there. There's the ability to keep people in categories that benefit other people. So I think if we're going to see advancements, in particular in surgical techniques, it's got to be because we've become more comfortable with the idea that people should be able to control their own bodies. To poke their eyes out, as it were, to burn their eyes out, to get vaginoplasties, to get phalloplasties, to remove, breasts that they don't want or get some new ones. So, all right, let me see what else I have on TikTok. The va versus voom. Yes, that's right. I was vawing, but I wasn't quite vooming. All right, let me see. I am biting my tongue. All right, let me see. All right, so CM Burns says, I want to see if that would be an option for yourself. I got to tell you, I mean, forgive me, I want to say CM Burns, I believe you are trans mask. And if I'm wrong, please tell me. Phalloplasties, as far as I've known, have been far more difficult than vaginoplasties, and I recovered really well. And I do know a few people who have had phalloplasties, two that I can think of off the top of my head. But oh my gosh, it's been a lot for them, from what I understood. So I hope you get the option. Some of the difficulty that I know of is that you have to take big pieces of skin off of you, and that's rough. So that's not the kind of thing that you do easily. So, all right, let me see. I've got. Thank you for telling me to hydrate. So Frybird does say all surgery, big surgery, leaves scars more than others. Very true. All right, let me see what else we have. So Siren, I saw this. Recovering from vulvoplasty right now. Woohoo! I'm giving you. That's so awesome. I'm so happy for you. And thank you, by the way, for telling me. You're 48 hours into recovery. And here you are telling us. My gosh, that's phenomenal. I'm so happy for you, Siren. That's all I can say. So happy for you. I'm tearing up a little bit. I hope you end up so happy with it. And I want to hear more. Tell me more. Make sure you tell me how all that happens. So, all right, let me see. So Anita Lichtenberg also says, I remember that the definition between a difference between testicular and ovarian tissue is one of very few genes. Maybe they could be turned on and off. So I held on to that one. See, I'm coming back to it. But it's possible that we could end up figuring out how to make those genes express. My understanding, and I am not an expert in human development, certainly. My understanding is that even if we changed the expression of those genes, what it would want to do was try to generate new tissue, and our body's not great at that. It's good at gotten once you've gotten out of the womb, right? It's great for generating less difficult parts, I think is the way I want to put it. It's great for that. You can heal up. You can heal like a champ. I think I read somewhere you can lose about 3/4 of your liver and it will regrow. 3/4, like that's impressive. That's like a starfish kind of regrowth. But you can't really but you can't regrow an arm, right? Your body doesn't do that well. You can very clearly develop some secondary sex characteristics. This is how I ended up growing any kind of breast tissue. And obviously my ass got huge too. I'm just going to throw that out there. It got really huge. So, wait, it's Matt's birthday? Wait, Matt, your birthday was 2 days ago? Siren, you were on live last night? What is wrong? Wow. Well, happy birthday to Matt Adland as well. All right, you get another heart. There you go. All right, let me move on here. Let me see. Oh, yeah, so Mischief, yes. Common for trans girls to have the gap in the middle there. Yeah. I'm doing much better now, for what it's worth. I think, again, after the vaginoplasty, I feel like things started growing again. And I feel like I'm actually getting more tissue in there. So it's kind of, or maybe the implants are still settling and spreading out, because I know they do for up to a year. So could be I'm totally wrong, but all right, let me see. Bryce says Stanley cups. I don't. Oh, wait, this was a Stanley cup. Sorry, I wasn't sure if you were talking about my. I thought that was a comment about my chest. Sorry about that. All right. Luna Briella, perhaps, says, I am 16 days post-op from FFS. Ouch, look at that. That's awesome. I hope you're doing well, Luna. Did that work? Did that work well? Do you have a whole lot of pain there? HWDV says, hand waving. Hi. I've got 3 minutes, but there's a great question. Andy Armour just throws out vomit. Okay. That's not a question, Andy, but Andy Armour has now been, held for posterity now. Saved for posterity here in this live stream. All right, my last little bit here. Should we change? So, Grief Foundation says, should we change sex markers when a person changes gender? Should we rewrite the history and change the sex record on the birth certificate? So I want to ask you I'm going to throw out some hypothetical questions because I know you're not going to be able to answer these, Grief Foundation. What good does that do? What good did the sex marker on my birth certificate do? Because honestly, nothing. What it did was tell everybody around me that they should treat me in a particular way. There's not a lot of value to having a sex marker on something. I think I made a point, I don't know if it was last week, if I'm driving 100 miles an hour miles per hour, for everybody not using freedom units, sorry, I meant kilometers per hour. If I'm doing 180 kilometers per hour in a residential area, does it make a difference what the marker is on my driver's license? No. Why is it on my driver's license? I don't see that there's any real desire, any real benefit. So when we're talking about things on official documents, is it rewriting history to say that I have always identified in a feminine manner? I don't think so. That is my history. Some doctor looked at my anatomical parts and says, well, I think that person ultimately is going to create a gamete that's on the relatively small side and can also move, so I'm going to stick an M on the birth certificate. But what did that say about me? Because the doctor didn't know. I was assigned male at birth, but I didn't actually create sperm until I reached sexual maturity. So it's inaccurate anyway at birth, because what if I had an accident? What if I ended up being more intersex than I am? It's a useless piece of marker there. So I don't believe, anyway, for what it's worth, I don't believe that it's useful, and that's why I changed mine. The state of California allowed me to change it to F. It's not rewriting history, in my opinion, what that is. So, all right. So Joe Neal did. Here's the good news from Joe Neal, and then I'm actually going to read the TikTok comments really fast. The pandemic caused the explosion of online shopping delivery. At a job I had for a while, several trans women were the pickup delivery drivers. I imagine employment had been in challenge before. Okay, phenomenal point. Most transgender people suffer a lot of discrimination in the workplace. Like demonstrable, absolutely demonstrable, that it's very difficult to it's difficult to create an environment where people don't want to see a binary. And so we suffer a lot of discrimination. So yes, that's great news. I'm glad that there's ways that the transgender community can get more employment. Absolutely. So, all right, cool. Luna, thank you for the update there. Luna says she's recovering pretty well, readjusting to breathing again. Whew. Other than that, the pain is mostly discomfort. Cool. All right. I'm gonna run through the comments on TikTok. Grief Foundation understood what you're saying. It has value from a public health policy perspective. We would know, for example, you require prostate screening and can't get cervical cancer. Yes, but you can get that by observing me, and you're not going to know whether I'm capable of getting whether I need to get prostate screening, unless you actually do some blood tests and stuff. Like, you're actually not going to be able to, because what if I had my prostate removed? I'm coming up with something dumb here. It doesn't do a lot. I don't even think it's that relevant for medical purposes, because what it does is make a generalization. Because not every man gets prostate cancer. Not every woman gets cervical cancer. Sorry, not every AMAB gets prostate cancer, and not every AFAB gets cervical cancer. And if that's not the case, then what you end up having to do is look at the individual, look at the medical condition of the individual. And isn't that what gender is? Gender is the individual expression of sex characteristics. So just look at those. All right, here we go. Let me see. Going through this. Siren, I would actually love to get you in a box. So Siren, yeah, I've got to figure out how to do, I know how to do it. I can do multi-guests on live here. I think it would be cool. It wouldn't actually be through TikTok. It would be through Streamlabs here that I'm using, so it would be cool. But yeah, reach out to me. It'd be cool. I'd love to connect up more for that. All right, let me see. They only unalive locals. Oh, that's something different. Okay, cool. So I should do, multi-guest live at some point. So Matt, I would do it all through Streamlabs, so it's easy. Because I actually I don't know if anybody's, it hasn't gone on TikTok yet, but I'm doing a live stream now with Jasmine Vine and Dr. Lino Martinez that we do on Monday nights. We're not doing it this coming Monday. Oh gosh, I meant to talk about this too. But I'll get to it. Anyway, all I do is I run Streamlabs and then they connect to me. So it's pretty cool. And then I just stream it to, whatever I choose to. So, all right, let me see. Is there anything there? Katrina. All right. Let me see what we have on TikTok. So let's see. Oh, wait. Was it here? Trans women should get mammography. That is true, because I may actually have developed milk ducts. I may have lactation ducts. I may have developed those. I don't know, and that doesn't just take milk ducts that cause cancer, obviously. But so very true, very true. We should. But again, like, you wouldn't say that to an AMAB, right? So you wouldn't say that to an AMAB unless that AMAB has had estradiol therapy, hormone replacement therapy. So that M, just to throw this out here again, that M did nothing to recommend that I should get a mammography. So, all right, here's what I was going to say. I am going to New York. I'm leaving Monday night. So I'm going to New York because I'm actually going to. So somebody named Ew has said trans women are trans women, not real women. All right, well, thanks a lot there. I'm glad that you were able to get that in at the end. So I'm going to New York on Monday because I am testifying as an expert witness. I've mentioned this a couple of times in a criminal case against a transgender man. I would say that right now things are looking decent for the defense. I don't want to say anything more than that, I guess, because who knows? But I am supposedly testifying this coming Thursday, and I come back home on Saturday morning. I don't know for a fact that I'm going to be in a place where I even can do a live stream because, I'm flying out of Syracuse, and if you know anything about Syracuse, I'll probably get delayed by snow. So anyway, we'll see if I can do this next week. If I can't, I will certainly make a post about it. But there you go. There's something there. It's what I'm going to be doing next week, and hopefully I'll be able to have a conversation about the actual trial. So it'd be cool. All right. So okay, gosh, I'm going to answer this one more question. So Grief Foundation says, how do we plan health resources for a community if we don't know what sex/gender-based needs are? But we only know sex and gender-based needs by observing individuals, not by looking at their birth certificates, by looking at the individuals. Do they need these medical resources? So we do this, we still have to do it by observation. I don't think there's any other answer to that. So Louise Richardson says, hi, Amethysta. And I'll say, hi, Louise, just in time to say thank you so much to Matt Adland and Frybird for moderating on TikTok. And I think, Matt, you came over and did a little bit on YouTube. If I remember correctly, I think I put you as a moderator on YouTube. You should probably look. But so thank you so much to my moderators. Thank you so much to some of the regulars here, Louise, Anita, Grief Foundation, CM Burns. I know I'm going to forget somebody. Miss Sheaf, thank you so much. Thank you just everybody. It's so great that I get to be, Michaela, it's so great that I get to be able to do these things. Sloppy Mommy, I appreciate all of your comments. I don't know how to express just how pleased I am, how happy I am that anybody wants to listen to me. So thank you so much. I will definitely take care. Thank you, CM Burns. And I will let you know whether I can do this next week. Okay. Talk soon. Bye.